Oh,
Welcome to The Lion Roars with Phil Margo and our special guest, Jay Leslie, who
Jump in, Jay Leslie.
yes.
heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com. Anyway, Phil, introduce our guest formally.
Okay, formally, he's Jay Leslie still. He's
Well,
not formally Jay Leslie. He's Jay Leslie. We know each other for what, 25 years more?
it 29
29 years. I
this
know
year.
it was in the 20s.
29 years.
Um,
She'll
um,
be 30.
One of the great pleasures of my life was having Jay stand next to me and play and sing. Um,
Yeah.
and we had a huge amount of great times. I mean, we were celebrating the fact this weekend that Noah got engaged to Laura on stage at a show in Oregon.
July 4th.
Yeah, and he went. My son, Noah was my son, and and he
I know that. I knew that.
he went to that spot in Oregon for their 20
Yeah.
whatever 25th wedding, for their wedding anniversary this year, and it was pretty amazing. So we did a lot of amazing stuff. We did things that we did things that we'll never forget. And it was a great pleasure to do what we did, to entertain, to make people have a good time, in all over the country, all over in all kinds of places.
All over. And Japan.
And Jay, you're still working, right? You're working a lot, or
Trying to.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not easy. It's
Yes,
not
yeah.
easy. I mean, there was a big flap here that why didn't they have us this summer
Mhm.
for the concert on
Oh, like now.
it's a new director, so it's like
Yeah.
New director of what?
because people we had the most successful shows. We had the most crowd of anybody that they ever had.
All right,
And
who's they?
best city of Beverly Hills.
A city bell. Okay.
The
Yeah,
city of Beverly Hills has a concert series each summer
yeah,
uh, called Concerts on Canyon, which
right.
is after a street. And it's an outdoor event. And they have, I think, 10 or 12 different artists, one per week on a Thursday night. And the tokens have always been like the local stars, so to
Yes.
speak.
Well, we're the only stars,
Yeah.
the real stars that are
National act. We were the only national act that they had. So,
and we used to pack them in. They came to see
oh
us
yeah,
every year.
oh
And we
yeah.
would have sometimes we would have the girls group with us. Sometimes we just do it ourselves. One time we had uh, um, um,
We had Norman with us once, Norman Fox.
Norman Fox. I just spoke to him. I'm having breakfast with him Thursday.
Oh, terrific. Give him my love.
I will indeed. And
Yeah.
it's been a great thing. And the nice thing about it is we didn't have to travel. So we just went a few blocks, packed in, and it was a great show. And we had a lot of fans. And this year they didn't know if they were going to have it or not, and then they decided that they would have it, but they never called us. And Josh Gross, runs the paper and the weekly, the Beverly Hills Weekly, wrote a whole letter about why aren't we there? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
but cities change, and that's the way it is. But
Well,
we did some really great stuff together.
well, I hadn't seen you at Beverly Hills, but I knew a few years. I don't know how many years ago. I saw you at the Woodland Hills, the same type
Right,
of
right.
concert series. Were
Right.
you playing that, Jay? Were you
Yes.
in the
Oh
band?
yeah,
I was there. Yep.
he
Yeah,
played every.
it's lots of fun, and actually people of all ages came.
Yes, yes. It's
Mhm.
we're undersung. We when we had our hit record, it didn't matter as much to have a hit record then that it does now. Now, if you have a hit record, you're filling up Dodger Stadium. Back then, you worked at Crescendo's nightclub in Staten Island. There was nowhere to work for us. We weren't a folk group, but we did sing folk songs, and we weren't a rock group, but we did sing rock songs. So no one knew where to put us in the beginning. It was only in the aftermath in the 80s when people started realizing that there was music before the 80s, that we had a whole new more work than we ever had when we had the hit. It was really weird, you know.
That's right.
They didn't know where to put us, and they still don't. You know, they never, with all the hits we made, everything we did, they never considered us for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What do you have to do?
You have to have a good PR man.
Right.
True.
We had hit records. We produced hit records. We were successful in the year that the industry grew from a stepchild of show business to a main Emmy broadcasting, you know, telecast Emmys nationally. You know what I mean? Equal status with the film industry and television. Before we were just the record business.
But you know what? Once people found out who we were and what we were, they loved us.
Yes.
I'm not saying that because I'm, was
Yeah,
involved.
no, I know. It was.
They loved us, loved our history, loved what we do. And then I don't know about Phil, but I would get asked all the time about like the backstory of a record that we did or that Phil produced.
Sure.
You know, the story behind the story, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah. So tell us some of the things that you remember that Phil maybe has not told us.
Travels.
Travels, or the story behind the story, or stories that aren't known.
You know, the Tokens produced a lot of other artists and a lot of other groups. Okay. And one of those groups was Denise by Randy and the Rainbows. And Phil would tell the little backstory within the introduction of that song in our live show, which is, again, what people just love to hear about, these little anecdotal things that occurred, that there was really no drum track. What it was the guys standing on those old style wooden Coca-Cola boxes, right, Phil? Or seltzer?
Well, I played the drums on it. I played the drums. As a matter of fact, what's his name? The famous drummer from, I forgot his name. He did a book and he put me in as the Denise. He didn't know who the Denise drummer was, but he said that was one of the best drumming on the record. But the real movement of the record was also the stomping on the Pepsi boxes.
Pepsi boxes.
The wooden Pepsi boxes, because they had a really great slap.
Yeah.
You know, and we stomped the whole song, you know. So, and we clapped and stomped. And if you want to listen to the record, whoever's watching this, you could hear it. You could hear. And we also made that record out of 2 different takes. Because
one edit.
Get a complete take, but we got 2 takes that were good that we could splice into. And it was a splice of about that big, you know. I mean, the piece he took out was like the size of a comma almost, you know, and it worked. And Laurie, because we had just had hits with the chiffons, we made Laurie pay us $1,500 advance, you know. I mean, the record cost us to make. We played the instruments. The studio was like $20 an hour. It took us 2 hours, you know. I mean, it was no big deal. So the record cost didn't cost, and we didn't pay any fees to anybody. So the record cost us to make maybe a couple of $100, you know. So we got 1,500, which was a big thing. And it came in important when the record wasn't happening. It was out for 3 weeks and nothing was happening with it. But they decided, since they spent so much on the record, they'd spend another week promoting it. And that extra week is what broke the record. And it became a hit. It got played in a big station, I think in Boston, and then it became a hit.
So my point is, when people hear these types of stories, they're just so interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's why, you know, it's why people write books.
That endears them to us as artists, and they give us that respect that Phil and all of us are chagrined that we didn't get
No.
when we were doing it. It's always in retrospect.
Yeah, of course it was because the
But
record,
it's great. I mean, still, we had many blessings fall upon us.
the hit records we made,
Yeah,
I mean, I mentioned in the beginning, but when we started in 1961, the record industry was small by comparison to the other to films and to television, and it wasn't really considered as a big deal. And as the 60s went on and more stuff happened and more hits became more and more known, then the industry went from having the Grammy Awards in a hotel in Nashville,
that's right.
not televised. We were nominated, but we weren't even invited to the Grammy Awards that we were nominated for Record of the Year. That was and RCA never even told us we were nominated until the announcements of the Grammy winners were made after the Grammy Awards.
Which record was that?
Line 69.
1969.
Line 69, okay.
We lost to the Twist, right?
Yeah, I think Chubby Checker, right?
Yeah.
And it was, and it amazed me how they disregarded it, and then they disregarded everything we did.
Yeah,
We made you so fun.
It until I contacted the Academy.
Right. Oh yeah.
Remember?
Well, tell them about that.
I got all the guys together backstage. I said, I got something I need to give you guys. It's my letter of resignation. No. I pull out a manila envelope, and every one of us got it wasn't a plaque, but it was what word am I looking for?
No, it was the actual.
Foundation from the Academy to the Tokens for The Lion Sleeps Tonight being nominated for a Grammy in that year.
Yeah, and then they sent us
I'm sure you still have yours. I have mine.
Then they sent us a nominating certificate. I have one.
That's what yeah, it was a nominating
certificate, and
for us.
Which is made with a gold thing and all.
Yeah, it's very impressive looking.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, now again, I'm not in the music business, but I remember when the Grammys basically didn't give any awards to rock music. Basically, the Grammys were more stuck to the traditional music, to the Sinatras, to the Tony Bennett's, and it wasn't until I think Dick Clark did the music awards that all of a sudden the Grammys started saying, okay, we want a younger audience, because Dick Clark was getting all the young kids that listened to the rock music. And the Grammys just lost audience because their audience was getting older and older. Because so at the time, all the young kids starting, I think in the late 50s, early 60s, basically it was rock music. Again, different forms of rock music, which I still don't get. If someone says, well, that rock music that has a guitar, that doesn't have a beat, that doesn't have a drum, it's so technical nowadays. But
well, yeah, because we had back then was top 40 radio, where you hear a Sinatra record, you hear a Como record, and then you hear Blue Moon by the Marcells or the Tokens, when the top 40 was really the top 40 most popular records in the whole country. So there were people that liked Sinatra and there were people that liked rock, and they all fit in. But it was the teenage girls that were buying records at that time. The teenage girls started buying records. There was a lot of record sales to the younger people. And that's
right.
That's why Dick Clark existed.
What didn't fit in was the demographics. People that listened to the Sinatra were not the same people that listened to the Tokens. You had the older demo, and Sinatra had the older, and you guys had the younger demo. So basically the way anybody, media makes money is advertising. So the agency says, hey, we're trying to reach the 24 to 15-year-old group. We can't play Sinatra because nobody, that age is not listening to Sinatra. They're listening to the Tokens. They're listening to
Teenage-
Chubby Checker.
But what I'm,
Demographic wanted their own music to call their own. And
Yeah.
rock and roll was that.
yeah, see, I don't think that's correct, Malcolm. When Top 40 radio was around, everybody was exposed to everything and listened to it. And I knew kids that liked Sinatra.
Oh, they'll always be.
Kids didn't say, I only like this. See, the industry is the one who separated music. They did it because it was, I guess, more, it was better for them, I suppose. I don't know that that's true, but, you know, because the record business did go through some real hard times. You know, it was like, it was in a lot of trouble.
Well, listen, there'll always be people.
Why would everybody merge if you were doing well? You know, Sony owns Columbia and RCA. RCA and Columbia were two separate major companies. Why do you do that? You do that when you're failing. You know, they forgot about everything, and now, you know, I don't know, I don't recognize it. You know, I don't recognize.
It's a different industry. By the way, tell us some stories about you guys on the road, because again, we know the story about the industry, but people want to know about the Tokens, how they related. You know, did they get on each other's nerves? You know, were there any fights? Did you all guys get along? Did you share women? Did you share drugs? Did you share whatever?
No, we didn't do drugs, and I never. Don't forget, I had a pistol permit and a federal firearms license. So the last thing, and a pilot's license. So the last thing I'm going to do is mess around with drugs and shit like that. I never did it. You know, you get into it.
Jay, your time to confess.
I will confess. I did get women, but I didn't share them. I was selfish and I kept them to myself, really out of respect for them.
We didn't do.
But we weren't like, you know, we weren't breaking hotel room windows and throwing TVs out the door and trashing rooms just because, quote, it's the thing to do. You're a rock and roller. We were very focused on our show and doing the right thing, being on time,
Yep.
hoping. You know, people don't realize that doing the show is the easiest part of a tour. The hard part, we used to joke around, is what we get paid for, is the travel, getting there, hoping the sound is right, hoping the lighting is right, hoping that the equipment arrives on time, all the backline, that they got the right drums, that they got the right keyboards, setting up, rehearsing, sound checking, you know, staying alert, and then going out and doing the show. I remember telling Phil would run out on stage right in front of me playing his tambourine. I'd tap him on the shoulder before every show and I'd say, here we go. And once we sang that first note, opening note, like all the angst went away.
Right.
And we were relaxed, and we ourselves would marvel to each other on an intermission or after a show. We always spoke about the show after the show. How relaxed we were on stage.
Right.
We were nervous how Yelia is off stage, but we were relaxed on stage.
Once I.
It was just so easy to do. And you know why I think that was? We loved each other as people.
Yeah.
Not just respecting what we did musically or individually. We loved each other as people and we watched out for one another.
That's true. And I mean, the wildest thing we ever did, I remember we were staying at a hotel in Philadelphia and it had windows that you could open. So
Yeah.
we made hundreds of paper airplanes and threw them out the window. And the next day we went to the other side of town to do record hops and we found one of those airplanes on the other side of town and floated all the way across Philadelphia. That was us wild. You know what I mean? That was the wildest we got.
So basically you were doing pranks versus.
Yeah,
that was the extent of our bad boy days.
But nothing that
Really.
involved anybody else or hurt anybody, you know. I mean, it was, we kind of behaved ourselves. We didn't, I mean, when I was in London, when I was in Europe, Hank and I dived into the Trevi Fountain,
Yeah.
and they wanted to arrest us and put us in jail. And the RCA guy came over. That was about the wildest thing we ever did. So every time I see a movie that shows the Trevi Fountain, I chuckle.
What were you,
There.
were you drunk at the time, or you knew exactly what you were doing?
No, we weren't. We
Oh,
weren't drunk. We just, what was the movie with it was a movie that
there were three coins in the fountain, but that was,
no, there was a movie that the star danced in the Trevi Fountain. I forgot the name of it. Anyway, it may come to me. But it was around that time, and we were imitating that, And I remember we stood at the edge, and we were dressed in tuxedos.
Yeah.
And I looked at Hank, he looked at me, and we said, "Yeah," and we dove in. Not to all of us, just Hank and I. That was about the craziest thing I ever did.
were you part of the group then, Jay?
Not then.
No, that was before.
Yeah.
That was before Jay.
I got into the Tokens because, number one, and Phil doesn't remember this, but when he was playing up in the Catskills, you see, I did listen to last week's show. I was in the Catskills also. I was underage. My mom forged my working papers. At that time, you had to have working papers.
Right, sure.
Under 18, and I was way under 18. And I was working up in the Catskills. Phil was working up at the Catskills. We were at different hotels. Sometimes after our respective shows, there'd be like, quote, a jam session. Musicians from this hotel would get together with musicians from that hotel, and they go to the nightclub when it was all emptied out, and we jam, we play. And I met Phil during one of those jams.
Right.
I didn't see him again for many.
We went into one of the bigger hotels. We all met in one of the bigger hotels.
That's right. Yeah.
I don't remember which one, but
it was either Gilbert or the Gilbert.
It wasn't like Browns or anything like that.
No.
The grossing is, it was, I remember.
In the interim, I joined Shana Na. And through Shana Na and Jocko Marcelino is how I found out Phil and Mitch had moved from Brooklyn to LA. They found out I moved from Brooklyn to LA. And I wound up living 4 blocks from Mitch for years and never knew he was there. And I remember my audition. I sang the first line of Barbara Ann.
But we actually, when the group was reformed in the 80s, it really worked way more than it ever worked before. There were times when we were working weekend after weekend.
And Malcolm, here's something interesting that people may not know. We reformed, and it's not so much because we wanted to, it's because there was a demand for people to see us and know if, are these guys still around? Are they alive? Are they performing? Are they doing this? Where are they? So I think Mitch had spoken to an agent, and he was trying to book a group that he had formed, just a local group in LA to play around in nightclubs. And the agent said, I can't book you guys, but I can book the Tokens.
Right.
And we talked Phil into coming back to perform because you were off doing stuff with Robert.
I wasn't.
Guillaume.
I wasn't even. I didn't even think of doing it. I was involved with working. I was in television. I was managing Robert Guillaume. I was making movies. And Mitch said, and there was a show in some of the one of the big venues, and he said, do the show with us. There'll be 2 members. It'll make it real nice. There's two original members.
Yeah.
So and I was really uncomfortable about it because I never was comfortable doing a show. I never knew what to say.
Right?
Yeah. And so I went on the stage. So I'm walking up and down. What am I going to say? And I and they announced us. I came on stage, grabbed the microphone, and never stopped talking since. You know, it was
Malcolm,
it was absolutely just looking around at all of those people. Because I knew what I didn't have at the beginning, I had now, which was a history. And when you have a history, you can talk about your history and people are interested and you don't have to make up stuff. You just say what happened. And that's what I did. And it worked great.
our show was mostly autobiographical
Sure.
and 1000% true.
Yep.
And
Well-
people, without us saying that to them verbally, they caught on to that. And I got to get this out before our time runs out.
Oh,
There are a
good.
lot of groups, and I play for a lot of groups, have and still do, who
Yes.
come on stage, and especially if it's a multi-act show, they do their hit records, either 2,
Right.
3, or 4 hit records. And that's, quote, their act, okay? Our show was really a show. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. If the venue wanted an intermission, we had 2 45-minute sets. Or most times we went straight through for either 75 or 90 minutes.
Yeah.
But our show, each segment, we had little segments. We had doo-wop skills test. We had the segment about the records that Tokens didn't sing, but other singers sang that they produced. We had anecdotes about, where we got a certain line for a song from Dear Ruthie, which is a true story.
Yeah.
So our show, our 90-minute show, was really 6 15-minute segments that all of them stood on their own without the other material. We could do a 15-minute show, always end with The Lion Sleeps Tonight, or we could do 90 minutes or 100 minutes, and each segment had its own place, autobiography,
Each segment was
chronology.
I'm sure of its own.
like a chapter.
I think people love that. I think people love the
Yes.
difference between us and a group like the Coasters or the Drifters or Little Anthony and the Imperials. They'll come out, they sing their hit records. Thank you very much. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I love playing with some of the people that I, as a kid, idolized. But our show was in every intensive way.
Yes, it was a tale of
It's like a
not
theatrical production.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a-
well,
it's a
Jay,
tale-
if you've been listening to some of our shows previous to this, I've been trying to talk to Phil about starting to do it again.
God bless you.
Reorganize the
No,
token.
I'm not
God
against
bless
it.
you.
Noah called up to town to ask them about it. I didn't. It's not that easy,
I know. Well, I'm not talking about doing small town things. I'm talking about. I used to work with a guy named Ken Roberts, and this is back in the 70s. And how he made his money is he put the rock and roll people into colleges, college towns. I think the Tokens would be a fantastic group for college towns who want to know about rock and roll, because as I said, the rock and roll era is ending a little bit. I mean, it's still rock, but the different forms of music. But your music and the music of your era will never die. And especially you, I mean, as I often say, The Lion Sleeps Tonight is one of the iconic songs of the 20th century, and it will never die out.
It's still in the top 100.
It's a global.
Still in the top 100.
So I think if you could put a show together, it would be a big hit in college towns. We could start out locally over here, because in Los Angeles we have UCLA, USC, Pepperdine. We have many major colleges here.
Yeah, but you talk like it's easy to get it. It's not.
Of course it's not. If it was easy, everybody would do it and you would have done it already. It's hard. But Phil, you have tackled so many projects that someone said, how did you do it? Whether it's starting the Tokens from this kid that didn't know music in Brighton Beach to producing films to becoming an agent, you've done it all.
If there's anyone that I know that knows how to do what they call a pitch meeting, it's Philip Frederick Margo. And he's done them, and you know that.
But I have to.
All your scripts, all your movie ideas, all your TV movies.
I
You had
don't,
to
I
pitch
don't
it
even
at
know
some
who to
point.
talk to anymore.
Yeah.
Well, you're not the one that would do the calling. You're the one.
No, of course
You're
not.
the one that has to arrange a group. Once you arrange a group and you have something to sell, then we talk to either promoters or speak to the people, who know the people nowadays. Then when we get,
We would essentially do the same show that we do. We have
We have a show.
yeah, but you got to put it in a presentation form.
I have video of the show. We did it at the candlelight. We did it with
The reel.
We
We
it
have
was
a
a
demo.
real
This
show.
is a reel.
Yeah,
So-
we have a show. I mean, it's not that we don't have a show. It's that, there are people interested in booking it. You're talking
yeah.
about a very difficult area now because, yes, the song still stands up, but a lot of these groups are gone. There's hardly any left. I mean,
There's a way. There's a
Because all
way.
the more reason we should be doing it.
Right.
Everyone else is gone.
It's the end of an era. So you're reliving the
We
era.
are.
But again, we just got to get. You have to say, I want to do it.
You want to do
I
it.
want to do it. Show me how.
Okay.
Don't just tell me you got to, it's like, well, you want to work, you got to get a hit record, then you can work. You can't say that.
Jay, we have the starting of it.
Malcolm, you and I just became co-managers.
Okay.
No one called the city of Beverly Hills to talk to them about it. I mean, we're actively doing it,
Okay. Can you get the band members together again to do a gig like that?
Hope that I can get a band together.
It'd say no way, or
No, I can't get, I don't know if Mikey wants to do it anymore.
what you got? Well, that's what you have to find out.
It doesn't matter. That's not the issue. We did a show in Beverly Hills without Mitch, of course, and it worked out fine.
Yeah.
Well, we have two guys right now. Let me know how many members you have.
And Noah.
We have Mitch, we have
Noah.
me and Jay-Z and Noah, and we could get people. That's not the problem. The problem is
I can whip them into shape, baby.
get the work. That's
Get me a good guitarist and a good keyboard player, and we're golden.
Okay, it is.
I mean, actually, my grandsons both. My Ethan is an accomplished musician. He plays everything. He's really come a long way, and it could be the Margo. Generations of Margos. You know what I mean? It could, with Jay-Z, of course. I don't know if Mikey wants to do it anymore. I got the feeling he doesn't. But
Well, find out. Let's find out who we're really talking about. Do we have a real product to sell? Once we have the product, then you have the
not
show.
listening. I have the product to sell. There is a product. It exists. I did it. We did it. We did it even without Mitch. We made it work, and it worked fine.
A few times with different
Right?
combinations.
Okay. Jay, we'll get together. We'll talk about it and bring him along.
We can have a lunch. I'll come out there to see you.
Yeah,
I will come
you
out
got
to
it.
see you.
I mean, I don't object to working. I miss it. I told you I miss it.
Okay. So now we have a project. I mean, now we're talking about six. How long would it take? Like 6 months or something? So what we need to get the bookings and you guys have an agent?
I don't think you understand how difficult it is.
I don't. That's why I'm suggesting it. If I knew how difficult it was, I probably wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't. It's not easy.
Hey, nothing
And then you have,
that's worthwhile is easy.
is Jay still working? No,
Siegel?
Jay? Siegel, yeah.
Well, I think he's going to go back to work when venues open up again.
Okay, and what does Jay? So the two J's?
Yeah, there are two tokens. That's the other problem. I thought he was going to stop. He was going to stop a long time ago, but he obviously hasn't.
Well, it's two of the originals.
Yes, Jay and I,
Okay.
Siegel and I. are the
Okay.
teenagers.
And then we have the son of the Tokens, or the grandson of the Tokens.
Yes, we have,
The ori-
yes, we have, and, and hugely talented. You know, Solomon is an extremely talented guy.
Between Noah, Phil, and myself, I know we can carry the show.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Carry the show.
I feel like I'm in an old Mickey Rooney or Judy Garland movie. We
Phil
have the
knows-
talent,
Come on.
we have the barn. Let's do a show.
Phil and I got to tell you, Phil and I really, really had some chemistry. I always knew where he was going with something,
Yeah,
and I would follow.
that's right.
Sometimes I'd feed him, and there were times some lines off the top of my head that were so hilarious, not to, put accolades on myself, but they just came to me in the moment.
And they came, and they stayed in the show.
And they stayed in the show. They became part of our quote script.
That's right.
And that happened all the time.
Yep.
Well, then again, I'm not into
We really had a good time.
I'm not in the music industry, but it's like watching a good team, a good
And I
basketball
feel-
team. They
And I've
feed
said this
each other.
before. I mean, I know I don't know what adjective to describe it, but if Jay Siegel and Phil and some others got together again, to me, that's a promoter's dream.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Many groups
Okay,
could ever
Phil.
do that.
that will never happen.
We're doing it. We're gonna do it.
That won't happen.
I mean, you guys did get together for the PBS shows.
Yeah,
And
with,
that was awesome, just awesome.
it was way, way long ago. No.
I know.
Yeah, well, you got the team. We have to find the I don't know the next, finding the promoters, finding the venues.
Yeah.
But again, there's a lot, a lot of venues out there. Even in Southern California, you really don't have to do that much traveling. But there's so many college towns and so many kids who still love that type of music. And then,
Let me say this, that I don't know about the others, Phil and Noah, but every once in a while, I'll get an email or something through Facebook or some venue that someone will bring up a show that they remember that we even forgot we did.
Oh, sure.
Hey, Phil, happens all the time.
I don't remember.
anyway, guys, I hate to cut you off.
I know.
We're about 40 minutes into the show.
Okay. Jay-Z, thank you.
Well, I try to give as much entertainment for your entertainment
Jay-Z,
dollar.
I'm coming to New York.
Yeah, I know. Next month.
All right.
When are you coming out to
I'll
LA?
call you when it's getting closer. We're going.
Maybe I'll come back with them, with Phil.
Okay, then let's get
I'll let them
together
kidnap me.
and start talking about this seriously.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, guys, thanks very much, Jay.
Hey, thank you so much. This was a
Looking
Love
thrill.
you,
forward to
Jay-Z. I miss you.
And remember, tell your friends you're on MalcolmPresents.com. Phil Margo, The Lion Roars.
The Lion Roars. And Phil Roars too.
This week's guest, Jay-Z.
All right. Phil, give
Bye,
my love
guys.
to everybody, okay? Phil?
Yes, will do.
Give
Yes.
Bye.
Malcolm, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.